The sequel to 2018's Venom film has officially been confirmed. The first movie made over $855 million at the box office, making it the 6th highest grossing film of that year. So of course, despite the low rating on Rotten Tomatoes, Sony is pumping out a sequel. But what that sequel will entail is still a mystery. So today we're jumping into hypothetical land and discussing a few theories brewing on the interwebs about what may go down in the film, and some other theories pertaining to the symbiote character and its host with our list of the top 10 Venom 2 fan theories. Starting us off in at number 10, Carnage. Let's begin our list with an obvious fan theory. The mid-credit scene at the end of Venom featured Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock heading to San Quentin prison to interview a serial killer, who turned out to be none other than Cletus Cassidy, played by Woody Harrelson. The scene ends with Cassidy telling Eddie that when he gets out of prison, I quote, "there will be carnage," which is an obvious reference to the fact that the Venom villain will be making his debut in the second film. The theory suggests that because of this scene, Carnage's origins will be ever so slightly altered than how they go down the comics. Now, in the comics, Eddie Brock is imprisoned, and eventually breaks out thanks to Venom. But in the process, Venom secretly gives birth to an offspring that he does not tell Eddie about. This is the norm for the Clintar race. They aren't sentimental about their offspring, rather, they have them, then abandon them. Venom doesn't think it's important to tell Eddie about until Cassidy, bonded with Carnage, breaks out of jail and heads out on a killing spree. So, here's the obvious theory. The prison scene that we saw as the mid-credit scene is when Venom disposes of his offspring, and we'll be seeing another version of that mid-credit scene play out in theaters at the start of Venom 2. Makes sense, doesn't it? And at number 9, new director. Rumor has it that director Ruben Fleischer won't be returning to Venom 2. This is because he's reported to be working on Zombieland 2, and will have his hands full with that project, especially considering both have similar time ranges for the release date. Despite this, many believe he'll still be taking on the sequel, primarily since actor Woody Harrelson took on the role because of the director's involvement, with Harrelson having appeared in the first Zombieland. So if not Fleischer, who will take the helm of Venom 2? One theory suggests that the film might look at its current cast for direction, specifically Eddie Brock himself, Tom Hardy. As a thread on Reddit noted, Hardy legitimately cared about making the film the best it could be, and even implied that his favorite scenes were cut from the film, which he then backtracked in a later statement, although still seemed pretty disappointed. Up next, number 8, the split universe. This is a fan theory that concerns both the Sony Marvel films and the MCU. After the trailer for Avengers Endgame aired, a theory started to circulate that suggested the Marvel universe would be split in two, with all of the dusted characters going to that second universe, and that Ant-Man or Captain Marvel will be required to bring the universe back together as a whole. But here's where Venom comes in. Some believe that the Sony Marvel character will be introduced into the MCU as a spin-off of sorts because of this event, and that because of it, Venom and the other Sony Marvel upcoming properties will be spin-offs that now exist because of complications that come with bringing the two realities back together as one. I mean, it's a plot device. And at number 7, Venom is a furry. This one comes straight out of Reddit from a user that we are not gonna name just for the sake of keeping the backlash minimal. Anywho, this user goes on by referencing a bunch of things from WikiFur to argue that Venom is in fact a furry, and that it is Eddie Brock's fursona/fursuit. This is because a furry, according to WikiFur, is someone who has, I quote, an interest in anthropomorphic animals and or mythological or imaginary creatures which possess human or superhuman capabilities. Now they go on to say that Venom is an alien creature which possesses superhuman or human capabilities, and that fursonas do not require fur. In addition to that, they go on to explain that when Eddie is wearing Venom, he's able to stand up to people, and this is how Eddie sees his fursona interacting with others. But perhaps the best part of this theory is the first comment that appeared on it that read, "No, don't bring that furry shit to Venom." I'll leave you guys with that. And at number 6, She-Venom. One of the reasons why Michelle Williams signed on to play Eddie's ex-wife Anne Wang was because of She-Venom. While she briefly transformed into She-Venom in the first film, it seems like a safe bet that we'll be getting more She-Venom from Anne in the second, given the ambiguity of Anne and Eddie's relationship that we were left with at the end of the first film. One theory suggests that She-Venom will make a return as an antagonistic force of Eddie's, with the symbiote briefly abandoning Eddie for Anne, only to return to him to help fight against Carnage. And at number 5, Spider-Man. Back when the first Venom was released, director Ruben Fleischer had said that, I quote, "This feels very much like Venom's movie. It's the introduction of the character. As to where it will go in future movies and who he'll run across, I can't say." Now many have speculated that this means that perhaps Sony's Venom will cross paths with the MCU Spider-Man, with Tom Holland making a cameo in the sequel and Hardy's Venom officially becoming canon as far as the MCU is concerned. Either that or Tom Holland will appear as Spider-Man, but the film will exist in another alternate Marvel universe outside of the MCU, which it technically already does. With recent news that there will be a Black Cat and Silver Sable film in development at Sony, which has currently been delayed because of the script, there's a lot of debate as to whether these Spidey spin-off characters will have any relation to Spider-Man at all. The big theory is that Sony and Marvel Studios are pulling the wool over our eyes, and that it'll be revealed that this Sony Spider-Man-centric universe is merely just a spin-off of the MCU. And at number 4, the Silk connection. This theory could technically be a spin-off of the split universe theory that we mentioned earlier. A Silk feature film is in the works at Sony. The Korean-American superhero Silk, aka Cindy Moon, first appeared in the comics back in 2014's The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3 Issue 1, with her story being that she got bit by the same spider that bit Peter Parker, except bitten on her ankle, which gave her organic webbing and a spidey sense. 13 years later, she meets Peter when he tracks her down. But here's the interesting thing. This Silk project could end up tying together the MCU and the Sony Marvel universe if that's the direction that the studios want to go in. The film would be led by producer Amy Pascal, who was also a producer on Spider-Man Homecoming. In addition to that, in Spider-Man Homecoming, there was a character on Peter's academic decathlon team, an Asian American girl by the name of Cindy. Fans have speculated that perhaps this character might just end up being the future Silk, just like Flash may end up being the future Flash Thompson Venom from the comics. Could this be a tie-in of sorts? Who knows, but supporters of this theory have their fingers crossed. If this pans out, this would mean that we could very well see Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock coming face to face with Tom Holland's Peter Parker, since the theory suggests that Silk, who will exist in the same universe as Brock, will somehow cross paths with Venom, with the character potentially being introduced in Venom 2. Speaking of introductions and cameos, in at number 3, Morbius's cameo. Let's talk a little bit about the spin-off film starring Jared Leto, Morbius the Living Vampire. It exists in the same universe as Venom, Sony Marvel universe. So, Morbius is Michael Morbius, a character who is a biologist who accidentally infects himself with a virus that essentially turns him into a vampiric-like character, with fangs and a hunger for blood and all that jazz. He's a character who in the comics clashed quite a bit with Spider-Man before becoming an anti-hero in his own right. Now this theory suggests that Morbius, whose film debut comes out a handful of months prior to Venom 2 in 2020, will appear in the sequel film, having a cameo in the same vein of the cameos that appear in the MCU in order to further establish the cinematic universe. How will Morbius play into Venom's story? Well, being a biologist, this theory suggests that Brock ends up seeking out his help in order to help deal with Carnage and find a way to defeat Venom's offspring for good. And at number 2, Lethal Protector. Since Riot was first introduced in the Venom film, there has been speculation that the other symbiotes that appear in the Lethal Protector storyline, the comic in which Riot prominently appeared in, and the first film loosely adapted, will make a debut in the sequel. Now aside from Riot, these symbiotes are Scream, Phage, Lasher, and Agony. They were all part of Venom's offspring that were forced out of him by the Life Foundation. And there's a big rumor that these symbiotes will appear, not as a main antagonistic force, but potentially in a mid or post-credit scene, introducing them, with some pretty notable actors playing them. The rumor mill suggests that James Marsden will be playing Toxin and his counterpart Patrick Mulligan. Demi Lovato will be playing Agony, and Michelle Lee will be returning as Scream aka Donna Diego. And there's talk that these symbiotes will also combine into Hybrid, a symbiote amalgamation of most of them in the comics, with Ryan Gosling playing Scott Washington, its host. Now, these mostly seem like rumors, to be honest, but these symbiotes appearing in a credit scene is, something that we wouldn't entirely write off. And finally, in at number 1, Venom will replace Spider-Man. Let's end off our list with one final theory that pertains to the whole will they won't they Venom integrating into the MCU subject. This theory suggests that because of this grander spin-off universe that Sony is crafting, Venom will take the place of Spider-Man as the centric figure. So let's backtrack a bit. Aside from Morbius, Silk, and the Black Cat Silver Sable films, it's also rumored that Sony is working on a Sinister Six film and a Kraven the Hunter film. Seems a little wild considering, Spider-Man isn't a part of this universe. But rather than all of these characters being tied to Spider-Man, this theory suggests that, similar to how Venom was introduced independent of the web slinger, all of these characters will be as well, and that Eddie Brock will act as the central figure in which they are all tied to, or that they, all try to take out, with him being the hero of these stories rather than Peter Parker. It is an interesting twist, and while it means there will definitely be some serious creative liberties, it's one way for Sony to really bank off of the whole cinematic universe game that Disney and Warner Brothers have been milking with Marvel and the DCEU. Alright, there we have it, friends. Do you have your own theories about what will go down in Venom 2? Do you think any of these on our list will actually pan out? Give us a shout in those comments below and let us know. If you dug this video, spread the love, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more lists just like this one. We even got a nifty little playlist currently flashing on your screen that you should totally check out. In the meantime though, thanks for tuning in, friends. I'll catch you all in the next video.